Pittsburghers know her face.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sally Wiggin.
They trust her voice.
Some disturbing news tonight.
WTAE-TV's Sally Wiggin is one of Pittsburgh's most popular and well-respected news anchors. She's been front and center for some of the region's most memorable moments.
And then, all of a sudden, someone screamed from the assignments desk. A plane has crashed in Somerset County.
Tonight, Sally's trading her anchor desk for a seat at our table for a conversation about her unforgettable career, her far-reaching fan base, and the causes closest to her heart. Conversation at WQED starts now. She's already laughing at those old hairdos. Good evening, I'm Michael Bartley. Thanks for joining our conversation at WQED. Our guest tonight is in unfamiliar territory. WTAE-TV news anchor Sally Wiggin is usually the one asking the questions, but tonight she's here answering mine and yours straight from Facebook and Twitter. Thanks so much for being here.
Am I supposed to look at you? I'm like, so you're looking there, and I'm wanting to look over. It's almost Pavlovian.
I know.
You know?
I know. You know, I see
I said you know. Oops.
I see you so often. We just sat next to each other at a dinner not too
Which
long
one
ago
was
at the
that?
Parkinson's deal.
Oh,
and
yes,
then,
we did.
And but you know, I'm looking at all this research on you today. I had no clue. You've been at Channel 4 33 years.
Yeah, in March it'll be 33.
It's unbelievable.
I know. I pinch myself. I never really intended to stay there. It was going to be just a stepping stone.
It was 1980, and who was the general manager? John Conomikes,
John Conomikes, who became the head of Hearst Broadcasting.
And you weren't really intent on taking the job in Pittsburgh, were you? You had another offer.
I had an offer in Miami that I turned down, that my then husband really wanted to go to Miami, and I had turned that down because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then there was this offer, and I wasn't even thinking of Pittsburgh, and I knew nothing about Pennsylvania. At the time, I think Pittsburgh was 10 and fell in the next month, I think, couple of months in 1980 to 11. I think Dallas.
We were a huge
yeah, but
market.
Dallas had passed us. That was the beginning
Yeah.
of the Sun Belt rising and the Rust Belt, falling. And my husband really encouraged me to take this job. But at the same time, I'd interviewed in Louisville, and it was part of a chain.
You were working in Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah. And I was the weekend anchor. And they had sent the tape to another station in the chain, which was in Atlanta at the time, which was about 16 or 17, maybe 18. So it was smaller than Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And they offered me the job while I was standing in the lobby of WTAE to accept this job, and they had flown me up there.
Wow.
And I told them I can't accept this check, the reimbursement for my plane fare, because I've just been offered a job in Atlanta. And I really had a lot of friends in Atlanta, and So John Conomikes took me to lunch and talked me into, they were offering me a weekend anchor job, definitely, in Atlanta. John Conomikes took me to lunch and said, in 9 months, we're going to have an hour-long newscast. The person doing the weekend news was a woman named Carol Hall. Do you remember Carol Hall? That she was going to be going to the hour, and that weekend slot would be open, and it was mine. Or it was mine if I tested well.
We're throwing these names out. John Conomikes was the general manager.
He was the general manager
at
at
the
the
time.
time.
Ended up being CEO of Hearst.
Hearst,
he was a big
exactly.
shot. Yeah. So 1980.
Changed my life. He did.
Absolutely. And here you are. You're a Pittsburgher, of course,
Yeah,
now.
I would say I am.
You were raised in Alabama, but your parents were
I was born in
from
Michigan.
Michigan.
Lived there until I was 6. Raised in Alabama, in a New England home. Both parents had New England roots, and my mother was determined I would not be a Southerner.
Wow.
And she succeeded. She didn't with my sister. I don't think, my sister was younger. She was like, you can be what you want to be.
You've seen some major stories in Pittsburgh over the last
Yeah.
33 years. When you started here in 1980, that's when things were kind of going to hell in a handbasket with the steel industry.
It's interesting because in Birmingham, where my broadcasting career began, and I was in broadcasting there for 3 years, about a year and a half radio and a year and a half television, steel was very big. In fact, U.S. Steel was very big because of coal and iron ore in Birmingham. And the coincidence is that I then came to another city where steel was born. And it was actually, I won't say horrifying, but it was disturbing, it was sad. Painful. And watching that happen, the protests, and then, why am I blanking on the quite radical group that grew up in the mid-'80s in response to the mill shutdowns. Why am I blanking on this?
It's a long time ago.
Do you know, it was a radical group, and led by a Monsignor Rice. And
Charles Owen Rice.
Yes, Charles Owen Rice.
And Father Jack O'Malley was involved with that.
Yeah, and there were a lot of protests, and it was just, you just think it could have been done differently when you look back. It was, I don't know, it was just a very sad time. And look what happened to this city. No other city fell in market size
and rose
in the country.
And television market,
And television market, I'm talking about. Oh, as far as a place of high tech and innovation, it's amazing. Pittsburgh's a great city, a fabulous city.
No doubt about it. What about the other major stories? You were in the newsroom the night of 4/27.
I was. Don and I were the 11 o'clock anchors then. Yeah. Awful. And what happened is, I think something happened to our live capability. And so Don and I were on the air without video for a long time, long time. And because this happens, it wouldn't happen so often now because of the technology, but CNN picked us up live. And we were one of their stations. And so Peter Jennings called, I think, Monday and complimented Don on the work that he had done and that we had done. But it actually seemed, at the time, it seemed like it wasn't going well, because you know, and I'm telling a trade secret here. You know what you don't have, and you're struggling, and you're speculating. You're doing what you're never supposed to do. To fill time, you end up falling into speculation, and then you always regret that. And I remember the next morning we went to do a Habitat for Humanity home, and I just felt awful about the plane. And I had a friend with a search and rescue dog who was there right after.
Yeah, that was a tough deal. You, 33 years, you have the seniority now, don't you? I think.
In the market?
Yeah, in terms of
probably
anchors. You've become this iconic.
No, not really.
Yes, you have.
No, it's just because I'm odd. Do you know what I said to somebody? You know what I've become? Sort of a younger version of Betty White.
I don't know, but
younger. I'm not.
I'm telling you, I told you before the show, if you haven't seen Rick Seaback's new documentary, 25 Things About Pittsburgh.
It's on my DVR.
I'm watching this program, okay, and they do this porch party, and it's in Friendship or Lawrenceville or something, and the people are so excited, and Rick says, well, who's this guest of honor? And they said, just the most celebrated and important and the biggest personality in all of Pittsburgh. And he says, who? And they say, Sally Wiggin. Have you seen that yet? You have to watch this.
No, I have it taped.
You're aware of this.
I knew I went to the porch party. I just kept looking for the right food. That's all that motivates me these days.
All right,
no, it's not all, but I love food. No, it was a lot of fun, and I knew the young man. He had worked at the zoo. And I liked him a lot and had worked with him on a couple of things at the zoo. So,
speaking of your iconic stature and legendary stature, now let's take
a
moment.
Stop it.
Yes. Let's get to Zach Tanner, who's live in our control room. But before we talk to Zach and Facebook and get all those Twitter questions for you, Zach, you're wearing proof of just how popular Sal. Look at.
Am I supposed to look? Where do I look? I don't know where I look. Where do I look?
Right there, look. Check it out. What's the deal on these shirts?
You know what? Am I supposed to say the company that produces them?
I don't care.
Am I allowed to do that?
Whatever you want.
I think it's Steel City Cotton Works. Am I right, Zach?
I think that's right. And we got it from the History Center gift shop.
Yeah, and they sell them there, which is so sweet. I love the History Center. I do. Oh my gracious. But
and they're sold out, I guess, or something?
I think so. And you can get them online. I don't know how they do it, but what they've done is they apparently they've taken an image and they Warholed it, I guess.
It's
but
cool.
what they've done it's very clever. They didn't take a picture that exists of me. They took my hair, I think. I'm just guessing. And because I don't have a photo, a promotional photo, where I'm facing in that direction with that hair. My head's, so I think they've taken my face and then put a different hair on it. I don't know. I have no idea.
I love those T-shirts. Zach, are you still there?
I wish I looked like
I'm still
that.
here, Michael.
All right, you have Twitter and Facebook questions. You know, our viewers want to ask you some questions.
Am I so? I don't know who.
No,
to
you
whom,
look at me. It's
Look at you, okay,
Have you
all
never
right.
been on in a TV studio before?
Not like this.
Zach, go ahead.
I guess we're a little bit different here at WQED,
That's right, yeah.
Sally? Well, our first question today comes from Twitter, and it ties into your popularity and kind of your newfound viewers. The viewer wants to know, what has social media done to increase Sally's popularity among the younger generation of news viewers?
That's a really good question.
It is a tremendous amount. Oh my gracious! And this is an example. This is an example. When I did Dancing with the Stars, when it was Hines and Kim, it was so much fun. I loved doing
You did
this.
a lot of coverage on that, yeah.
And we had a ball, and the people were all great. I mean, the other dancers and the other stars. Well, it was that night that he won, we were live, and there was a PR person from ABC, and he was a great, nice man, and he was taking people around, and we were wrapping up, but he didn't know that, because earlier I'd said, bring me some other people, and there was a dancer, Kendra, I think it's Wilkinson, Kendra Wilkinson. She went out a couple of weeks earlier, and she all of a sudden just stepped right into my shot. And like she appeared, and I was wrapping up, and I turned around and I said, oh, look, it's Kendra. And everybody on social media went nuts, especially Twitter. And they thought that she had just decided to walk into my shot. It wasn't it. She was being pushed into my shot. But what happened, it blew up on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah. And our local radio stations all started talking about it, you know, DVE and KISS and what have you. And the next day, somebody from Whirl emailed me and said, you are trending nationally.
Whirl magazine.
Yeah, you are trending nationally on Twitter.
No way.
And it was like, whoa.
Okay.
I mean, it was, and that's social media, and that gets picked up locally. So, and these younger viewers actually don't necessarily view television when it's on. They may look at it online, or they may have watched television when they were little.
Yeah. And they
And that's
remember
when-
you.
and
They
that's
grew up
when they
with
would
you.
remember me. Yeah.
They grew up with you. All right, Zach, you got some more stuff here. I want to get as many as we can in for our viewers. Are you there, Zach?
I'm not hearing him.
Okay, I'm not either. I'm not either. Let's go to some of your famous co-workers. Myron Cope, you miss him.
Yes.
You were very, very close to him. You eulogized Myron Cope.
I did. I was stunned. I remember being really nervous because I didn't know why. I didn't know, and he had asked for me to be one. I think there were 5. And I'm going to start to get weepy. That happens when you get.
I didn't mean
been
to
around
do
for a
that
long
to you,
time.
but I know how
No,
close you
but
were.
you know, he was a fascinating man. He was very complex, and he once wrote me a letter about covering sports and to make sure that I never forgot that I was a lady. My mother and father raised me to be a lady, but sometimes you lose it in this business when you have to become tough, and when you started out early on. And I kept that letter and would refer to it because it wasn't done in what some people would call a sexist way. It was, I think for him, it was his way of saying, always be civil, always have a sense of propriety.
Why did he feel the need to tell you that?
I think because what he was seeing women become on television, he was old-fashioned. And I think if he didn't want to see me do that, and I think maybe I had ventured into that arena a little bit. Maybe I had become inappropriate at one point. I don't know. I can't remember. It was to compliment me. He was complimenting me, but at the same time, it was sort of a cautionary missive. Is that what I would say?
I would say, I want to stay with that. You know, and I don't mean this to be controversial, but and I'm
But
sure
you are going to
but
be
I'm
anyway.
going to ask it anyway. Men in this business can be old, fat, and bald, and gray, and the whole thing.
It's just the way it is.
Is there a double standard?
I can't say that there is, but I can't say that there isn't.
You're such a beautiful.
Oh no.
You're beautiful.
Please,
yes,
stop
you
it.
are.
No. Did you see some of those
You're-
awful pictures?
no, you're-
Oh my God.
Sally,
You went
you're
through bad.
beautiful.
You went through really bad.
And I'm not
Usually I can look at those and I think, what relationship was that? What guy? Was that a fiance or was that just somebody I was dating? And I can look at the hairstyles and tell to whom I was engaged or
Oh,
who
that's so funny.
I was dating.
Wow. You're beautiful.
Oh, stop
But
it.
I just wonder
thank you.
if you
I'm
think
not.
there's a double standard.
Not as much as there might have been.
I'm not asking about management. I'm asking about viewers.
Probably.
Don't you think?
Yeah,
yes,
probably.
That's my point.
Probably, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you have Diane Sawyer, but you notice. You see older women on the network. You don't see them very often in local news. Think about it.
That's interesting.
You don't see them very often in local news. Once they're over 55, then you're less likely to see them in local news. And I think part of that is monetary. I do.
Why?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay.
I can't answer that.
All right.
And the other thing is, I think sometimes women decide they want to do something else, and they don't stick with it, and they leave.
Have you ever felt burned out enough to you want to walk away?
Like about every year.
Really?
Well, it's not burned out. It's that my passion is conservation, and saving the creatures. And I wanted to be a zoologist when I was a freshman in college, and it still is my great love.
Speaking of which.
And so I'm just always like chomping at the bit. When can I do this? When can I
Right.
do this full time? But it's not the time yet. It's not the time.
Speaking of which, the viewers want to ask you about that. Zach, let's go to Zach and talk more about this social media stuff with our viewers.
Thank you, Michael. And I just want to say, when Sally made the comment about being the younger Pittsburgh Betty White, Twitter lost it. They loved
Oh, really?
that. They loved that comment.
I forget. Oh my gosh. Oh, gracious. Well, thank you. Tell him thank you.
Oh, they know. But you were mentioning animals, and we all know how much Pittsburgh loves you, so there must be a reason for that. And our next viewer might have a little bit of insight to that. She says that she applauds you for your local work with local animal shelters, and she wants to know, what was the defining event that made you a champion for these animal shelters?
That's a great question.
It was just, it's the same reason that I'm on the board of the zoo from the time, and I'm not sure that you don't inherit this, because both of my parents really loved animals and children. But ever since I was wee little, I was obsessed with animals. When I was 10, I memorized all of the dog breeds in the AKC. I checked out a book from the library when I was 11 that was mammals of the world, and I would go through and memorize them. And I just was fascinated with Jacques Cousteau and Jane Goodall, and now for me it's the Jouberts, and so it just became an outlet for me. I couldn't be the veterinarian. I didn't want to take calculus and statistics in college, or a zoologist. I wasn't going to do this, but all of these things, the shelters, the zoo, were an outlet for me. But the other thing is, people don't realize this about me, is that I was married. I wanted children, and then I was engaged and hoping to get married. And it just never worked out. And when it was time for me to really have children, it was too late. And so that's why I've always advised friends of mine who are younger, have them when you can. So I mean, I just, and one of the things I love doing is teaching children about how to save their planet, and how, I mean, I weep when I think that some of these species won't exist and I call them our children, because if you're a person on the planet, they're your children. And at the same time, trying to help the impoverished so that we can have a balance. It's called biodiversity. I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up. But that's why, they were all outlets for me to do what I had wanted to do as a profession.
You have a lot of passion. This business of women's heart health, you're very involved with that now.
My parents should not have bred. both of them heart disease. Oh, wait a minute. And my grandfather and my mother's side died of a myocardial infarction. My father, cardiac arrest. When he was 50, I was 14. My mother died of heart disease, but she was 77. But my sister was diagnosed with a very serious, it's called exercise-induced ventricular tachycardia when she was 37. And I was diagnosed with several forms of heart disease, 3, 4 of them, when I was 48.
Were you scared?
Yeah, because I always thought I would die when I was 50, just like my father.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I would, and I made it past 50.
Well, how, you're in a high-stress business. How have you changed?
Not much.
Diet?
I just pray. Oh gosh, I try.
You're in great shape. You
no,
work
I'm not.
out, obviously.
No, I
yes,
don't.
you do.
No, I don't. No, I'm awful. I just was blessed. I'm really about 15 pounds overweight for me, and have been for quite some time. It's the medications. I have an amazing cardiologist. It's the medications, the technology. I try to be good. I try to eat well at the beginning of the day, and then I have a pack of donuts. Or then I stop at Dunkin'. Oh, I'm not supposed to say. I'm sorry.
It's hard. All right.
I'm sorry.
You're killing me here. We're going to go back to Zach. The viewers, see, they love you. They want to get all these questions in, Zach. I know it.
Okay, I'm going to shut up. Just give me questions. Give me questions.
Twittering.
We have 2 questions this time. We have so
All right.
many coming in. The first one's from Facebook, and the question is, what do you like most about the city of Pittsburgh, our city as they called it? And the second question comes from Twitter, and they want to know advice that you would give any young student wanting to get into TV journalism.
Oh, those are really good. All right,
You do that. You take that one, Michael.
Oh, Pauline.
What do I love the most about Pittsburgh? It's green. It is so beautifully green. And, excuse me, sports teams. I went into this business because I wanted to cover sports. You and I talked about this.
I know it.
I wanted to be a sports journalist. I actually wanted to write sports.
You wanted to write for Sports Illustrated.
I did. I was fascinated with Sports Illustrated. That was when I was in graduate school. And I went in, I didn't want to be on TV. I wanted to do sports, and I wanted to report on sports. And I eventually got the chance to. So what do I love about Pittsburgh? It's love of sports.
You do a lot of Steeler coverage,
Yes,
I've noticed.
yes, I do, and I adore them. I do. And now they're so young, they're like my children, the ones that I know well.
And you get a lot of respect.
I don't know if I do. I suppose so.
With the
maybe.
sports people.
I guess, yeah. Oh, you mean
the athletes?
The athletes?
Yeah.
I think so. Over the years, I think I have. I do. Yeah.
The local athletes seem to be respectful.
Yeah.
Don't
Oh
you think so?
no, very.
I
Oh,
think so.
very. And I think it's because I am kind of like a younger Betty White.
That's going to be our new thing.
No, that's the
That's our
younger
new
version
thing.
of Betty White.
Advice for students going into journalism.
If it's your passion, follow it, but always prepare, be able to drop back and punt, because it's an ever-changing business. And the thing that I would say is want to write. Go into it because you want to write, because you want to help edify, that you want to educate. There's nothing wrong with that. Not to be on TV.
To do storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell them, don't do this because you want to be on television.
But see, we live in the world of reality
I know
TV
that, Sally.
and
but
YouTube.
I know that.
And
but
see, I like to be on TV too.
Well, we all like to
I'm
be on
just kidding.
TV, but it's
Actually,
storytelling. Isn't that the deal?
Yeah, you need to tell stories. And I'm doing more storytelling as I get older. And I like that.
I know you are. Do you like anchoring or reporting better? Anybody? I don't think you've ever been asked that.
Yeah, actually. 50-50. 50-50. Yeah, I think 50-50. I like doing radio. That's fun.
Radio, you're doing, and you're.
Because you can be goofy.
You're on DVE sometimes. They're fun.
Very much.
I would listen to
very
that.
Much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any regrets? You've had amazing
Oh,
success.
are you kidding?
Like what?
I've always said that if you say that you have no regrets in your life, then you've lived a perfect life. And the last time I've checked, human beings can't live perfect lives.
We're not God.
You got it. You said it. Exactly. That's right. No, I do. I know this is hard to hear. It was in 1986, and I was offered the main job, and I was in New York interviewing for an anchor job in New York, and I had made the top 3. And
Network job?
WCBS. Oh
Okay.
no,
Local
owned and
Channel
operated.
2
It
in
was
New York.
it was WCBS Channel 2. And they offered me this job, the main job here, and I had been passed over 6 months before.
Wow.
And it wasn't just to prove to them that I could do it and it was the right thing to do. I was engaged to somebody here, and well, I don't know if we were engaged, but we were dating. You know him. Don't say his name.
I'm not.
And
I went to school with him.
And I wanted, and a wonderful, wonderful
Yeah,
man
I know,
who
I
has
know.
an amazing career.
I know it.
And so I wanted to come home. This was home. I'd only been here 6 years, but this was home. I sometimes wonder, because it was the road not taken, if I mean, would I have gotten that job if I had not? I had broken through to that level. My agent would have found me another job in a top 5 market, and I just wonder what my life would have been like.
We all wonder that. Last question. We have about a minute left. Has news changed for the good? There's so much inventory now, doing more hours and hours of news to make money. When you started, there was a noon, a 6, and an 11.
Once again, I'm going to say yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, I'm ambivalent. There are times like being able to tweet about your stories or do Facebook. I really love that. Having working in digital, I think it's fascinating. I always feel like I'm learning a lot, but I miss long form storytelling, like you do.
Come on over here and do a couple stories.
Got a couple of more years.
I'm so glad you didn't
At my
take that
place.
job in Miami or Atlanta or whatever it was. We are so
I am
lucky
too.
to have you.
I am truly a Pittsburgher. I love this region.
You love, you
and
can
and I
tell.
will stay here when I retire.
You
I will.
MC every event in town.
No, you
People
do.
love you.
No, you do.
People love you. No,
No,
we're
they
co-hosts.
love you too.
You're so wonderful. I love you.
Thanks, sweetie.
Thanks so much for being here.
I'm happy
This
to
was a
be
lot of
here.
fun. You'll come back again, I'm sure.
Absolutely, but why? Get some other people. There are a lot better people than
You are so
me.
funny. Oh my God, the viewers love you. All right, thanks, Sally.
Thank you. What do I do anything? Just say goodbye? I'm done.
No, she's never been in a TV studio before. Oh man, jeez, those college kids asking about jobs would do better. I'm just kidding. All right, next time on Conversation at WQED, 25 years and going strong. Your buddy, WQED producer Rick Seaback, is celebrating a major milestone at WQED. He's sitting down for a conversation to talk about it, from his favorite stories to his most outrageous adventures. That's Wednesday night, 7:30 on Conversation at WQED. That'll be a lot of fun. 25 years here, Sally Wiggin, 33 at WTAE. Wow, it goes by in a blink. Thanks so much for watching Conversation. I'm Michael Bartley. We'll see you next time.